Hi again, guys, it's Key here, and sorry for the radio silence. I work a seasonal job. Not that I work a seasonal job, I work for a seasonal business, and I forgot how absolutely chaotic, like, halfway through March into May is. It's actually still chaos, but kind of getting into the groove of things. My name's Key. I am a avid fantasy enthusiast, aspiring author, and digital artist. I also love coffee. Today I just wanted to do a little book review recap video for like the first half of the year. We're halfway through May and I've read I think 7 books so far, so not horrible, not like wow I'm cooking, but it's fine. But I didn't want to do the whole like 20 books at the end of the year thing again. I might do a shorter one that's like what I recommend or what I wouldn't, but these ones I wanted to do like a little bit longer reviews. So the first book that I actually did finish this year was The Dragon Reborn, and I think I finished this early January. This is the 3rd book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and I'm most of the way through the 4th one. These are my mom's favorite books, first off, and this is like the epitome of what I want fantasy writing to be, but they take me a long time to read because I will read a chapter and be like, oh my god, there's so many details in here, I just want to like absorb it. I'm definitely the kind of person that is like, I read a book in a day or two, or I take months. And these take me a while, even though I would rate these my favorite out of what I'm reading currently. The ending of this one was super, super good. I liked the twist of it. I liked the characterization. It's very interesting. I might have already said this, but the main character, Rand, is like not the point of view character in most of this book, so you're seeing his actions through other characters' eyes, which I thought was really, really unique. Loved getting to know some of the side characters a little bit better, and got introduced to a couple characters that are like, you know, main characters, but they weren't introduced in the 1st or 2nd book. So if you like long journey epic fantasies, I would definitely recommend these. Obviously I'm only on 4, but the writing is like ultra flowery, and he's long-winded and he says the same things over again, but I just eat that up. You get so much more like in depth in all of the characters because there's so many different point of views in this book. I'm not even kidding. I think I looked it up, and over the course of the 14 books, and I'm not even sure if this counts the novella, but there's like 200 plus point of view characters that have more than 1,000 words. So there's even some that have less than 1,000 words in a point of view. Like, it's just crazy. Anyways. That one I did rate 5 out of 5 stars. I actually put anything in my Fable review, but that's alright. The next 2 books that I read were ebooks. So I read Midnight Sun, and that was me finishing up reading all of the Twilight books again. So, and I had read, whenever Stephanie Meyer was writing Midnight Sun, she would post chapters onto her website, and my aunt would then print them and put them in this big binder. And so once the chapters that were uploaded online were finished, I read that. I can't remember, I had to have been in high school, but I had never read the actual finished Midnight Sun. I don't even know when that book actually came out. Let me see if I can find it. It came out all the way in 2020? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, no wonder I hadn't read it yet. What did I say? I wrote that one 5 out of 5 stars. I said, I don't know what's in Stephanie Meyer's writing, but I eat it up every time. It did kind of taper off for me. The beginning stuff with Edward was really good, because this is Twilight retold in Edward's perspective. This isn't the gender bent version. This is Edward's point of view of just Twilight. It was really fun, and seeing like, you know, the timeline from his point of view was really cool. He goes to Alaska and visits his cousins or whatever. But then by the time it got to the end, it definitely wasn't as, I don't know. And it's not that her writing was bad or anything. It was just like, it wasn't as interesting anymore, because it wasn't like him going back and forth and stuff, as all of her books are. Just fun and kind of, I don't want to call it whimsy, but like, they're just a cozy kind of read. It was also an ebook, and it was called Radiance by Grace Draven, and it's the first in, I don't know if it's a trilogy, but there's also like little like half novels, which perturbed me to no end. Just write the story and then write novellas. I don't like a like a 3 and then a 3.2 and a 3.6 and a 3.8 and then a 4, but then you write them all in different orders. Like, I don't know why that bugs me. And I know it's a super common thing, and it's not that big a deal, but it does irk me in my core for some reason. Anyways, I only read the first book, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was overall, like, I read it in one evening. Like, my sister recommended it to me. I just wanted something snappy and quick, a little romance. It fit the bill. It was definitely, like, the first 90% was, like, typical romantasy, almost read kind of fanficky, maybe. The love interest, like, get along relatively easily. It's, like, a monster book, but really he has, like, weirdly colored skin and long nails, I think. Maybe sharp teeth? I can't remember. The one thing that I did appreciate about this, and I don't know if this is, like, minor spoiler, but there was no miscommunication trope, which I absolutely loathe. When it's just done just to do it. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, I don't really know what to do with the middle of my book. Miscommunication trope. You know what I mean? She did not do that in this, so I was grateful for that. But then the last 10% was like, so it is a longer series. This isn't the only one. It just felt like she only put that it's a longer series in the last 10%. So, like, it was like, la 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 la, tone change, and it got aggressively dark. I don't know. It was interesting. But I didn't read any more. I think my sister has read more of them. Her writing style was, you know, typical. It wasn't, like, ultra flowery, but it wasn't, you know, so dull that I wasn't engaged. It was definitely engaging, but not my particular taste, I guess. Not a bad book at all, though. Would recommend it if you like romantasies. It was fun. I wasn't reading it looking for a classic, so I do kind of feel bad for the 3 out of 5 stars, but also it was just it set out to do something, which was be a romantasy book, and it did that. So, and then I think we're on book number 4. Yeah, book number 4 that I read. I'm just gonna go in order. Was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, and this is a reread, but I hadn't read it since I think high school or maybe early college, so like a decade ago. I gave this one a 4.25, 4.75. Yeah, 4.75 out of 5. This one does the Sanderson twist, like, really, really well. I do enjoy that. His magic system in this one is probably one of my favorites. The politicking is interesting with, like, the gods and stuff. I think, and this is something that I've noticed after rereading Sanderson's, is he puts these romances in there, but he just loves his magic and his twists. And, like, literally, I think this is a 650 page book, and there's 2 romances that happen, except, like, the climax of the story happens, and then there's 20 pages of the 650 page book that wrap up, like, 4 people's storylines, and it's just, like, I, personally, like a longer wrap up, like Lord of the Rings, epilogue, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, not bad. I do have to say that for whatever reason, I can never remember the characters in this book. Like, I went to talk to my mom about this because she also has read it before. And I was like, I don't know what their names are. He's so good at this big twist and this cool magic and this actually really good plot that sometimes his characterization is a little flat to me. But a lot of people don't mind that. So, and it's not a bad way to write. But it's like his characters are plot devices versus their own selves. And I felt that way about most of his books. I like it still. Oh, that's what it was. It's not even really... It's like... It is the climax. So the climax and this huge reveal, his Sanderson twist happens. And then there's only 20 pages of the book left to, like, completely wrap everything up. But there was so much going on in the whole rest of the book that it just didn't quite feel like some of the characters were wrapped up. And I do think... I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but there's a sword in it, and I do think that the sword is in his Stormlight books, and or is supposed to have its own book. All that to say that if you wanted Sanderson to have the characterization of Robert Jordan, his books would be twice as big. So, and I know that he likes to have a big book. He likes his Stormlight, they're big, but he likes them to be readable and accessible to people who don't want to spend 1,800 pages every single book. Totally understandable. Not bad writing. Just, for me, I like a little bit more at the end. So sad that it wrapped up and it was just done. That's what I also wanted to say. This one, I devoured, I think, in one day. I wasn't feeling that great, so I just laid down and read at the end of the day and just read until I was done. Which brings me to my next one, which was actually Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It was my first time reading it. I had just this year watched 2005 movie with Keira Knightley like 4 times since I watched it for the first time this year, and then I also watched the BBC like 6-episode miniseries that they did. I had watched that multiple times and was like, okay, I'm gonna read the book now. It was a really fun read. I actually really enjoyed like all the characters. I really, really liked the way her dialogue worked because they would interact in paragraphs where she would say that they'd interacted, but unless there was important plot moving forward, things being said or happening, there really wasn't dialogue, which I thought was a really interesting thing. And I was surprised that it didn't take me that long to get kind of used to the language. I will say, watching the movies and then understanding like Miss Bennet, Mrs. Bennet, like the that could get a little bit confusing while you're reading if you're not familiar with like their personalities already, or if you're not reading it again. So this is one of the rare times where I'm like, I'm actually kind of glad that I watched the movies and stuff before I read the book, just because it made the characters easier to understand, because the way that she writes isn't, I don't want to say that nowadays we write in a kind of a force-feeding sort of manner where it's like, and he said, she said, and person's name, and because sometimes they would be having a conversation, but it's 3 people, and she doesn't put after each thing who is saying what. You're supposed to figure that out yourself, which is not that hard. Books now don't really do that. So that, I think, was the only thing that was a little bit confusing, but it was nice knowing from the movie, not that everybody always said the exact same thing, but what their character was like personality-wise. Also thought it was interesting, Mr. Bingley has 2 sisters, but in the movie, he only has 1 sister, which I thought was kind of funny. I rated that one a 5 out of 5. It was a great read. I want to read more Jane Austen. I have a big book that has all of them in it, but it's really heavy, so I might either get more of these like cheap paperbacks or just read them as ebooks or something. But if you have a favorite Jane Austen that isn't Pride and Prejudice, I mean, even if it is, you can say that. But if you have a different one that's your favorite, let me know. I'm not really even sure which one. Like, none of them, I don't know anything about any of them to know which one to read next. After we read that one, and that was 2 evenings. It did take me 2 evenings. I think I took like a month and a half break really from reading. I read a couple chapters of The Shadow Rising. Like, I'm kind of far in it. All I did was read a couple chapters of that. But until I get to like the last 10%, maybe 20% of those, I don't really like binge read them. I really like to like read a chapter and think about it. I call my mom and I talk about it because there's so many details in it. Anyways, I didn't read for a minute, and then I ordered a couple books because I really like this. I don't know why I do this. I either read a book in a day or, it takes months. So I was like, I need another book I can read in a day. And I'd been seeing clips of Project Hail Mary, and I hadn't seen the movie yet, but that was my next read. And I do believe I did also give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I think so far we're hitting a bunch of bangers. I'll get into that a little bit in a second. But this was super, super fun. It does read like a movie. The relationship between the alien and the guy is top tier. It's super fun. He wakes up and he doesn't remember who he is or why he is where he is, which is space, obviously. This is sci-fi. That was an amazing read. I think this one did take me technically 2 days, but I got it at like 5 p.m. and then I finished it at like 10 a.m. the next day. Like, I just woke up and I had a little bit left, but I literally couldn't stay up anymore reading it. And so that one was a fantastic time. It felt very, I want to compare it to Ender's Game, but I don't read a lot of sci-fi, but it has this like hopeful vibe to it, and like the main character is like decent, right? And he's trying to be like a decent person, but it also is like confused about what exactly he's doing or how to get about it, and they're trying to save the world from aliens because it's sci-fi. It was a great time. And if you've seen the movie already, I would still recommend reading it. I still need to see the movie. I get migraines really easily. Like, I get motion sickness when I'm in the movie theater because the screen is so big, and then it gives me a migraine. So just not worth it for me. I will watch it whenever it comes out. It looks really good from the from the gloves. It looks really good. I am interested to see the differences between like the book and the movie. I love, mulling that over afterwards, because obviously you can't take a book this big and put every single scene into a movie and every single line. Like, we don't have 14-hour movies, right? All right. So the last book that I have finished was a recommendation from my dad, because I was talking about Project Hail Mary, and I asked him, like, he reads a lot of nonfiction. So I was like, do you have any books like that you would recommend from your pile of books? And he actually gave me The Firm by John Grisham. I have never read a thriller. I'm assuming that's what this is, a thriller. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I am not sure I would pick up thrillers consistently, but this had me so gripped that he gave it to me at a birthday party, like lunchtime. I went home and I did nothing else. It was like a Sunday. I read it until 2 a.m. I actually took a 3-hour nap, and then I read it until almost 3 a.m. It was a wild ride. It was very fun. I still need to watch the movie, but it was actually really fun. And if you're looking for something suspenseful, go for it. I don't know anything about John Grisham, but I think this was one of his first books. It's not going to tell me, obviously. And then Tom Cruise is the guy in the movie. So I think what was really interesting about it was it was like so blunt and had such hard edges of like all of the dialogue and all of the descriptions. The only time it was flowery was when the characters were like having a good time. Like, you get some chapters kind of from his wife's point of view, and those ones would have a little bit more like description and floweriness, but most of the time it was like cut and dry. This is what's happening. The people, the lawyers are all like analyzing each other. It was just crazy. Like, it's not my favorite kind of writing style all the time, but it fit the tone and fit what the story was so well that I couldn't even be mad about it, if that makes sense. Like, it paired perfectly with it. It was a great time. That is the books that I've read so far. And then I'll talk a little bit about the books I'm currently reading. So I've already talked about the 4th book of the Wheel of Time series. I'm most of the way through it. I think I need to get a new copy because I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I think there's mold in this, and the glue is like broken. Every time I open the page, more glue falls off. So I think I need to order a new one of this because I don't want it to get like mold on your other books. I think that's something you can do. I'm just leaving it on my desk. And then the other thing that I'm reading is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I've been reading this since early this year. I want to say like February. I've annotated a little bit of it, and then I just hit the really busy part of my work year. I'm not gonna cap. It's like the dark side of the human condition style writing, and so it's not uplifting in any way, really. Quotes galore in this thing. Like, I'm not usually an annotator, and I'm annotating the heck out of this book, and it's amazing. And I don't think that anything that he's saying is like, oh my god, like, why would you say that about humanity? It's just kind of hard to be reminded about it. Sometime I will sit down and I'll read more. I think there's like 2 bookmarks because I had started annotating a little bit late. So then I was going back and reading and annotating. I read the first tab in like one day, and then I read to the second tab in the next day. And then I've slowly read a couple chapters. I'm at a chapter and it starts with like, Adam sat like a fat cat. Oh, Adam sat like a contented cat on his land. And I have read that line like 4 times because I go to read this book and then I'm like, I'm not mentally prepared. And then I put it back down. Hopefully we'll get that one done at some point. And then the only other book that I have that I've started is Red Rising. And I got this at the exact same time that I got Project Hail Mary. I read, I think, 3 chapters of this. Maybe just the first 2 by Pierce Brown. Sorry. I just lost my bookmark. Oh well. I read that one first. And I know it's sold as like a Hunger Games style book. I think I picked it up and was like, oh, this is dark. And I don't know about you guys. If somebody has read this and actually really likes it, please let me know, because it was not hitting in the way that I was hoping it would. But like, the cover is really pretty. Honestly, the premise of it sounds really good. So maybe it's just like, I just need to get through. I mean, I only met his wife for like half a second, but It just seems like she's gonna be like the fridged wife. So, and I hate to be like judgmental after 2 chapters, but it didn't draw me in. So I read Project Hail Mary and The Firm, and I'm not sure if I'll pick this back up. Because a lot of people say there's other characters that they like more than the main character, and that like the later on books are better. But if I can't get through this one because I'm so like perturbed by the characterization of the main character, then is it worth it? Is it worth it for me to finish this book? And then I'm very frustrated because all of the rest of my TBR is the rest of Wheel of Time, The Lord of the Rings, again, Game of Thrones, which I haven't finished yet, but I just have these really, really long fantasy series that I don't particularly want to overlap those. So I don't really know what I'm going to read in between because I still have 10 and a half, 10 and a quarter more Wheel of Time books, plus the novella. Oh, and The Witcher. I have The Witcher. And then I also have this Dragon Prince series by Melanie Ron because I love the artist who did the covers. And my mom has read these before and she said they're good enough. I just don't know what to fill my time with because I know I can't read Wheel of Time fast because I love absorbing all of the little details. We shall see how the rest of this year turns out because if it takes me 3 months to finish Wheel of Time book, each one, then I will only have 3 books to review. Or 2 books to review at the end of the year, basically. I don't think that's actually what's going to happen, but I'm not really sure what to read next. So, if anybody has short books, series, even up to like a trilogy would probably be fine. I just don't want to read anything that's like super epic fantasy, so it's gotta have like something else going on with it. Oh, and I also have Mistborn that I want to reread again, which I could definitely do that at the same time as Wheel of Time because it's so like industrial fantasy in my eyes. That is my book reviews of the first half of 2026, and then a slight TBR jar list of what's to come because I don't really know what else I have on there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hopefully will be able to make a video a month again. Sorry for posting and ghosting like from February on. Hopefully my next video will actually be a writing update because I have a big update on that front, but I will see you all in the next one, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye!